Sanders didn't merely win today's quarterback duel, he obliterated it. A pristine 15 for 15. Impeccable. Immaculate. Irrefutable dominance. Meanwhile, Dillon Gabriel imploded, managing a meager 3 completions on 18 attempts, unraveling with each misfire until teammates reportedly stopped, even glancing his way. This wasn't routine training camp sharpness. This was a complete paradigm shift, unfolding in real time before an audience of stunned onlookers. According to multiple insiders present during today's session, the energy in the facility morphed with every flawless Sanders throw. The first 3 passes sparked polite nods. The next 5 ignited genuine excitement. The following 4 built palpable anticipation. And the final trio? They produced something akin to a spiritual epiphany. Wideouts were allegedly applauding mid-route, fully assured the ball would arrive on time and on target, no matter the coverage. Defensive backs dropped their heads, conceding defeat before the whistle even blew. One veteran QB was reportedly seen removing his helmet after Sanders' 12th straight completion, muttering to a coach, "You can't defend perfect." Don't misinterpret what occurred today. This surpassed box score brilliance. This was psychological annihilation. Gabriel's catastrophic 3 for 18 collapse wasn't just about bad execution. It was a complete mental breakdown under duress. Sources said his frustration was visible the moment Sanders' streak ended. After his own first incompletion, jaw clenched. By the third, audible profanity. After the 5th, helmet spike. By the 10th, Gabriel stood isolated and ignored. Teammates stopped engaging. No encouragement, no consolation. Because they all knew the truth. The battle ended today, and the masterclass only intensified during full team periods. With live action, real pressure, complex defensive disguises, Sanders remained untouchable. Observers noted his ethereal pocket awareness, subtle shifts, seamless weight transfers, eyes downfield, velocity without sacrificing touch. But what stood out most? His pre-snap IQ. Hard counts exposing disguised blitzes. Protection calls neutralizing exotic schemes. Route checks eviscerating vulnerable coverages. Veteran safety John Johnson III reportedly remarked, "That's not rookie decision-making. That's a decade of experience on display." And then came the moment that sent the entire narrative into orbit. Kevin Stefanski broke character. The normally stoic head coach who had previously resisted the Sanders surge was seen clapping with genuine enthusiasm after one particular completion. Not token applause, raw, unfiltered appreciation. Animated sideline huddles with OC Alex Van Pelt. Multiple fist bumps exchanged with quarterback coach Dowell Loggins. Body language screamed what words wouldn't say. Most notably, Stefanski reportedly pulled Sanders aside after practice for an extended one-on-one. Sources nearby claim to overhear, "Incredible command. Exactly what we need. Prepare like you're starting Pittsburgh." That's a monumental departure from earlier rhetoric about patience, development, and gradual growth. Today didn't just shift expectations, it rewrote them. Gabriel's implosion warrants deeper scrutiny. His collapse wasn't coincidental. It was a systemic unraveling. His mechanics crumbled progressively. Footwork deteriorated, throws lost trajectory. But the sideline contrast revealed everything. Around Sanders, a magnetic field. Linemen initiating protection discussions. Receivers enthusiastically breaking down concepts. Running backs coordinating blitz pickups. Every motion surrounded by buzzing energy. Around Gabriel, deafening silence. Receivers kept their distance after overthrows. Linemen avoided engagement. Coaches whispered away from earshot. Everyone saw it. Nobody spoke it. The competition was over. Veteran reactions cemented the magnitude. These aren't rookies. They've seen countless camp battles. They know when something is a fluke, and when something is a franchise-altering event. Pro Bowl guard Joel Bitonio was overheard near media, flatly stating, 15 for 15 speaks for itself. Amari Cooper walked straight to Sanders after practice, hugged him and said, "That's my quarterback." And Gabriel left alone. No pats on the back, no teammates whispering next time. No illusion that today was just a rough outing. This wasn't just a practice. This was a defining chapter in franchise history. Jimmy Haslam's draft night proclamation now appears prophetic rather than impulsive. His adamant push for Sanders to start, once dismissed as meddling ownership, has gained legitimacy through undeniable performance validation. Front office personnel who previously questioned the fifth-round investment are now beginning to grasp the potential generational upside. General Manager Andrew Berry, once quietly favoring Gabriel, reportedly messaged an assistant moments after practice. Can't dispute perfection. Beyond the raw numbers, a deeper inspection of Sanders' evolving leadership reveals a metamorphosis. He reportedly commanded the offensive huddle with increasing dominance. Not contrived swagger, but genuine battle-earned confidence. His instructions were precise, unwavering, and authoritative. Run it exactly how it's drawn. The ball will be waiting. Give me 2 seconds. I'll find you. Trust me fully. And his teammates did. Visceral responses emerged. Routes tightened. Blocking efforts sharpened. The energy surged tangibly. This is the elusive trait that separates merely capable players from transcendent franchise cornerstones. Gabriel's simultaneous leadership collapse is just as consequential. Insiders described a complete emotional withdrawal, no huddle control, minimal sideline interaction, and total disengagement from receivers between series. The poise he carried throughout spring and early camp has been replaced with paralyzing self-doubt. Players instinctively recognize a quarterback unraveling under pressure, and more crucially, they begin choosing sides based on performance, promise, and potential. Today, that choice was unmistakable. The practice footage reportedly circulating among coaches depicts a masterclass. Sanders' fundamentals appear surgically refined. His footwork mimics professional training tape. His throwing base remains balanced through every pocket shift. Shoulders stay square. The release is identical every time. These mechanical consistencies typically require years to instill. Sanders arrived with them wired into his DNA. By contrast, Gabriel's film reveals alarming deterioration. Once reliable mechanics have disintegrated. His upper and lower body are out of sync, spawning accuracy issues. Processing speed has lagged. He's late on throws, locking into predetermined reads, bypassing open targets. Regardless of personal preferences, the coaching staff cannot ignore the visual evidence. The tape doesn't lie, it screams a disparity. A divide so vast it demands acknowledgement. Kevin Stefanski's post-practice press availability now looms as a high-stakes tightrope act. How does he justify Gabriel's collapse without eviscerating what little confidence remains? How can he praise Sanders' perfection without effectively declaring the competition over? How does he reconcile ownership expectations, locker room chemistry, and mounting media pressure all at once? Today transformed a manageable quarterback battle into an organizational reckoning, demanding bold, immediate leadership. Mishandle it, and the Browns risk alienating the entire roster. And that roster is already speaking. Defensive players, typically indifferent to offensive battles, were openly discussing Sanders' brilliance. Special teamers relayed stories. Strength staff shared anecdotes with anyone who'd listen. The building buzzed, not with casual compliments, but with the hum of collective realization. Something extraordinary just unfolded. This wasn't routine camp excellence. This was a statement, a revelation. A star announcing his arrival in thunderous fashion. The psychological aftermath? Devastating. Gabriel came in holding a paper-thin edge, propped up by experience, draft pedigree, and coaching bias. That edge disintegrated, vaporized. How do you mentally rebound from 3 completions in 18 attempts when your competitor goes 15 for 15? Where does your confidence regenerate after that seismic contrast? And how can the coaching staff continue this charade when the performance chasm resembles a canyon? Social media detonated. Clips of Sanders' throws leaked. Teammates tweeted cryptically about witnessing greatness. Local beat writers abandoned neutrality. National analysts weighed in, some without even attending the practice. The narrative pivoted in real time. Sanders, once viewed as a polarizing 5th-round flyer, now appears as Cleveland's inevitable future. Gabriel? Rapidly transitioning from presumed starter to likely trade asset. The ripple effects are massive. Preseason game plans will be restructured. First-team rep allocations must be rebalanced. Media access and press responsibilities will need rethinking. Locker room loyalties are already recalibrating. Veterans align with winners. Young players follow suit. Coaches must adapt their messaging. Executives begin reassessing roster priorities. Ownership feels vindicated. They comprehend the comparative challenge each quarterback presents. Multiple team sources now confirm that defenders prefer facing Gabriel. His predictability, flawed mechanics, and vulnerability under pressure simplify their assignments. Sanders, however, introduces an entirely different dilemma. His lightning-fast processing, pinpoint accuracy, and elite arm talent generate relentless strain on the defense. Reportedly, even Myles Garrett addressed his position group after practice. That 5 feet 8 inches kid's different. Be ready. Medical staff evaluations post-practice further underscored the contrast. Sanders, despite his flawless showing and mental exertion, exhibited no physical distress. Gabriel, by contrast, displayed textbook signs of performance anxiety. Elevated heart rate, muscle tension, dehydration. The body reflecting what the mind could no longer suppress. In the NFL, psychological endurance is just as vital as physical prowess. Today exposed a fundamental divide. Tomorrow's practice is no longer routine. It's appointment viewing. Can Sanders sustain this elevated standard? Can Gabriel recover from a catastrophic collapse? Will the coaching staff finally reallocate reps to reflect reality? And how will teammates react now that the competition feels all but concluded? The anticipation within the building is electric. Everyone senses it. Tomorrow either validates what we witnessed or offers an unlikely redemption arc. Media scrutiny is set to intensify dramatically. Sanders will be asked about chasing perfection, without sounding arrogant. Gabriel must address implosion, without unraveling further. Stefanski walks a razor-thin line between applauding Sanders' brilliance and maintaining the illusion of an ongoing quarterback battle. Every word will be dissected, every facial expression decoded, every posture interpreted. Pressure is rising by the hour. Internal conversations are escalating. Haslam reportedly demanding clarity on why Sanders was previously restricted. Barry quietly exploring Gabriel's trade market. Stefanski now reconsidering his entire quarterback structure. Position coaches tweaking development plans. Scouts reevaluating initial grades. The realization has swept across the building. Today changed everything. The financial implications are equally massive. Sanders' 5th-round contract could become one of the NFL's greatest value propositions if his performance continues. Gabriel's 3rd-round price tag, on the other hand, risks becoming a sunk cost requiring immediate mitigation. Roster planning and cap allocation will need to be recalibrated around the emerging quarterback timeline. These are not short-term decisions. They will ripple through multiple seasons. Browns fans, long-suffering and loyal, deserve acknowledgement. They've endured decades of quarterback instability and front office dysfunction. Today offered a glimpse of something better: stability, excitement, and excellence. Sanders didn't just win a practice. He reignited the hopes of a fan base desperate for a quarterback they can believe in. From a national perspective, the narrative flipped instantly. The Browns, long viewed as a chaotic franchise, suddenly resemble an awakening giant. Sanders has become the league's newest fascination, a blend of raw talent, high-profile lineage, and mid-round mystery. Gabriel's arc, meanwhile, morphs into a cautionary tale about pressure, expectations, and developmental ceilings. Kevin Stefanski now finds himself under a microscope. His leadership, decision-making, and philosophical consistency will be tested. Every storyline, from player development to front office alignment, now hinges on this quarterback decision. The stakes are immense. Every angle offers content for debate, discussion, and dissection. Looking ahead, the preseason just became critical. Sanders needs live reps under pressure to solidify his case. Gabriel requires a miracle performance to reclaim even a sliver of credibility. The coaching staff must now evaluate with absolute clarity under the glare of actual competition. The margin for error vanished the moment today's film went live. Let's be honest about what unfolded. This wasn't a close competition decided by minor nuances. This was a landslide, a performance chasm. 15 for 15 versus 3 for 18 isn't a statistical footnote. It's categorical domination. The Browns can try to spin this as an ongoing battle, but no one inside that facility is fooled. The quarterback competition ended today. Sanders didn't just outperform Gabriel, he overwhelmed him. He owned the day, the huddle, the spotlight. He became the present and future of the Cleveland Browns. The question now isn't about talent evaluation, it's about institutional bravery. You'd assume that by now, Tony Jai would have learned his lesson. After years of incinerating relationships, fueling controversy, and parading his opinions as infallible truth, one might think he'd finally understand that reckless commentary in today's NFL media ecosystem comes with consequences, but clearly not. Once again, Gross chose the wrong battle, this time targeting Shedeur Sanders. And what began as a smug, offhanded swipe over a routine training camp ailment has now erupted into a full-blown media inferno. If you're drawn to the real story, the unpolished chaos they don't package into highlight reels, hit that subscribe button. And if you're staying locked in to witness how this Browns quarterback saga implodes or transforms, you definitely want to be subscribed. Because Grossi isn't just facing backlash from fans. He's catching heat from fellow journalists and even internal voices within the Browns organization. It all imploded on live air when Gross, visibly irritated by the growing buzz around Shedeur, mocked his reported arm soreness with his signature smirk and the patronizing tone we've all grown tired of. Arms already sore? From what? Tossing a few scout team reps? This kid's not built for Sundays. And just like that, Gross took what was a perfectly normal, contextually expected training camp condition and twisted it into yet another cheap shot in his ongoing crusade against Cleveland's most talked-about rookie. It was tone-deaf. It was unprofessional. And most of all, it was shamelessly transparent. Because this wasn't about arm fatigue, it was about Gross seizing any excuse to diminish Shedeur Sanders, a pattern he's established since the moment Sanders entered the facility. Let's set the record straight. Shedeur, like any rookie adjusting to the relentless intensity of NFL speed and volume, experienced mild arm soreness after a stretch of grueling back-to-back sessions. Nothing alarming. No tear, no strain, Not even enough to warrant medical concern. Just classic overuse soreness. The kind that happens when a young quarterback is slinging dozens of passes a day, pushing himself in high-intensity drills, and staying late to build timing with his receivers. The kind of effort coaches praise in rookies. But to Grossi, it was just another opportunity to punch downward. He laughed it off on air, framing it as evidence that Sanders wasn't built for the pro grind. And in doing so, he didn't just question Shedeur's physical readiness. He attempted to sabotage the ethic behind it. And that's where the public drew the line. Within minutes of the segment airing, Cleveland's media landscape and Browns Nation erupted in defense. Tony Rizzo, in particular, unleashed the kind of righteous fire only he can. You want to mock a kid for working his ass off? That's what we're doing now? Grossi, let me educate you. Arm soreness happens when you throw till sundown. If that's weakness to you, you've clearly never stepped foot in a locker room. Boom! And this wasn't performative rage. This was a raw, studio floor takedown from one of Cleveland's most trusted sports voices. Rizzo didn't stop there. He doubled down on radio later, calling out Gross's glaring double standard, how he conveniently brushes past injuries and poor performances when it involves quarterbacks he favors. Especially Dillon Gabriel. Which brings us to the heart of this. Bias. This isn't just a veteran talking head-throwing shade at a rookie. It's a calculated pattern. Gross has been pushing a selective, slanted narrative, elevating certain players while incessantly tearing others down. Dillon Gabriel? That's Grossi's guy. Never mind Gabriel's infamous camp implosion. Never mind the emotional unraveling that reportedly made teammates back away. Never mind the statistical gap where Shedeur has been more accurate, more composed, and more productive. Gross stays silent. No scathing critiques. No sarcastic sound bites. No, he's not built for this energy. That's what analysts and fans are calling out now. Selective outrage. When Jimmy Haslam publicly admitted he didn't even want Sanders, Gross gave it a pass. When Gabriel melted under pressure, Gross spun it as competitive fire. But when Shedeur experiences one mild textbook training camp hiccup, suddenly it's open season? Please. Even Kevin Stefanski, a coach notorious for sidestepping media drama, felt compelled to step in. Asked about Shedeur's soreness, his tone was direct, measured, and revealing. He's been grinding. Early in, late out. That kind of soreness comes with effort. Frankly, I'd be more concerned if he wasn't sore. Translation? Grossi, take a seat. That public endorsement matters. Coaches rarely step up to defend rookies against media flack unless it's warranted. It means Sanders has earned internal respect. It signals the team sees through the noise and is protecting one of their own. This is bad. But for Grossi, he engineered his own downfall. Here's the twist Tony Gross never saw coming. The backlash didn't just come from irate fans or rival media voices. It emerged from within the very walls of the Browns organization. And for someone so deeply entrenched in the fabric of Cleveland football, that kind of internal revolt signals something far more severe than a bad take. It marks the collapse of credibility. For years, Gross has existed as a permanent fixture in Browns coverage, walking a precarious line between seasoned reporting and polarizing personality. But when that persona morphs into a one-man vendetta against a rookie, Shedeur Sanders no less, who hasn't even played a single professional snap, the scales tip from opinionated to outright obsessive. Let's be clear, this is no longer about football analysis. It's a personal crusade. And Grossi? He's losing. Publicly. Spectacularly. Behind the headlines and beyond the broadcast segments, there's growing unease. Not just in the media, but inside team headquarters. Multiple voices around the Browns have begun to ask the obvious. Why is Gross so fixated on Sanders? Why does every development, even a minor training camp hiccup, provoke such disdain? Why does it feel like he's actively rooting for the kid to fail? Once those questions start circulating internally, the old "I'm just being objective" defense evaporates. One source close to the organization even described Gross's recent behavior as borderline obsessive. Scrutinizing Sanders during pressers, bristling at praise from other reporters, visibly agitated when anyone dares acknowledge the rookie's upside. That's not journalism, that's personal bias, unfolding in real time. And when you zoom out, a troubling pattern emerges. Gross had no sharp commentary when Deshaun Watson skipped reps, no sarcastic jabs when other rookies across the league experienced similar soreness. A routine byproduct of NFL training volume. But when it's Sanders, suddenly it's a character indictment. Why? Some insiders are beginning to suspect the motive runs deeper than skepticism. It's starting to feel personal. Maybe it's Deion Sanders' outsized public presence. Maybe it's Shedeur's unconventional path. Maybe it's the fact that he doesn't conform to Gross's dated definition of a real quarterback. But here's what's clear. Grossi sees Sanders as a threat, not just to the depth chart, but to the narrative. And that's exactly why he's coming unglued.